Okay, so Mr. Segura, when you were here and entered your plea of guilty, I asked you some very specific questions about pleading guilty freely and voluntarily, and then pleading guilty because you actually did what they charged you with, and your answers to both of those were yes. The version, however, that of your version that I received here in the pre-sentence report is a little different. It says that you didn't have the drink until your vehicle was stopped. And so your version, if I'm to believe it, is that you stopped at the Taco Bell.
Yes, ma'am.
You drove to the Taco Bell.
I drove to the Taco Bell.
You stopped at the Taco Bell and you drank while your vehicle was stopped.
No, ma'am. I was outside the vehicle when the officer.
So you hung out at Taco Bell.
I was
drank.
I was waiting for the line to move so I could get my food.
I asked that the defendant be sworn.
Yeah. Let's do that. Raise your right hand. You
Yes.
swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
So help me God.
Okay, so you're saying that you got to Taco Bell.
All right, let's talk about what might be the wildest Taco Bell trip in Texas history. Because this dude is literally on trial for felony DWI and suddenly starts acting like he's at open mic night. No joke, instead of answering basic questions or showing any remorse, this guy launches into these long, random stories that sound more like a drunk podcast than courtroom testimony. It's like he forgot he was facing serious charges and thought he was just vibing at a late-night drive-thru. From what we're hearing, he was pulled over after allegedly leaving Taco Bell looking half asleep at the wheel. And instead of getting straight to the point, he's out here giving the jury a whole stand-up routine. You almost expect him to say, and then the Baja Blast hit. Look, it's one thing to try and charm a jury. It's another to turn your DWI trial into a comedy hour. This is a felony we're talking about, not amateur night at the local bar. But, hey, let's dive deeper and see how this courtroom circus really played out.
Obviously, it has to be. And then so.
I'm not worried about, hold on.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I want to know, when you got to Taco Bell, regardless of whatever happened,
Right.
did you go through the drive-thru or
No.
did you park?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Listen to my question. Did you go through the drive-thru or did you park?
I parked my
Okay.
car.
So when you parked your car at Taco Bell, you start having alcohol at that point?
No, ma'am. I got out of my vehicle to see how far traffic was up in front of me.
Okay.
They had several cars in front of me.
In front of you for what? You were parked.
Yeah, I was parked like,
Were you parked in a parking spot or were you
No,
parked in
ma'am.
the drive-thru?
I was not exactly in the drive-thru. I was at the end of the store. At the end of the store.
Okay.
But I guess you could consider that the drive-thru line.
Were you waiting for the drive-thru?
I was waiting for the drive-thru to
Okay,
proceed
listen,
because-
here's the thing. You're not going to try to trick me up with semantics today.
No, ma'am.
Hold on, don't talk over me.
Yes, ma'am.
When I say, were you going through the drive-thru or were you parked? What does that mean? That means, did you park your car because you're going to go in the store, or were you waiting in the line to go through the
I was
drive-thru?
actually waiting to go through the drive-thru.
Okay. I may look, I don't know, like I'm 12 years old and just fell off the
No,
turnip
no,
truck,
ma'am.
but I'm not.
No, ma'am. I'm
So
not.
you're in the
She's like, did you park? Or were you in the drive-thru? A simple yes or no kind of question, right? But this guy? Nah. He hits her with, well, I was at the end of the store, but also kind of in line. Bro, what are we doing here? That is not a location. That's a riddle. Like, are you parked? Are you driving? Are you ghost riding the whip around Taco Bell? The jury's probably sitting there like, sir, pick a lane. Literally. You can't just hover in Taco Bell limbo and expect the court to think you're sober. That answer screams confused and under the influence. And honestly, if your best defense in a felony DWI trial is, I was kinda near the drive-thru, you're not slick. You're cooked. Let's keep it going because this story only gets messier from here.
and you get out of your vehicle, right? Because
Yes.
there's a long line, the
Right.
cars aren't moving.
Right.
Right. So you get out and you decide, I'm going to start drinking here in the parking lot.
No, ma'am. I didn't drink until I got back inside my car.
Okay. But while you were at the Taco Bell, you started drinking. Had you drank before that?
No, ma'am.
So you're telling me that you started drinking at Taco Bell?
Yeah, I opened the container. That's how the beer it was on the floor.
So
of the
from the
vehicle.
time that you started drinking at Taco Bell to the time that the officers got there, about how long was that?
Oh, maybe 15 to 20, 30 minutes, whatever.
Okay. How much did you drink between that time?
I had a malt liquor. The 211 is a strong beer.
Mm-hmm. Just one?
It was a 40 ounce.
Right. So you drank the whole 40
I was
ounces.
drinking out of the thing. After the fact that
You were drinking out of what?
after I stepped back in the car, I started drinking it.
Right.
And
So how much of it did you drink?
I consumed a lot of it.
Okay. So let's just say you drank most of
Most of it.
one 40 ounce.
It was getting contagious.
So that's your story and you're sticking. Hold
yes.
on. So is that your story and you're sticking with it, that you drank most of one 40 ounce beer in about 15 to 30 minutes and that you hadn't?
And now brace yourself. This man actually claims he only drank after getting back in the car. But wait for it. He only had 140 Oz in 20 minutes. Nah, the math ain't mathing, my guy. Like, you expect the judge to believe that you crushed a 40 like it was a Gatorade after the cops saw you swerving? That's not just suspicious. That's textbook damage control gone wrong. Also, let's be real. Nobody downs a 40 in 20 minutes unless they're training for the Bad Decision Olympics. This isn't some casual sip. That's an I'm in trouble and need an excuse. Chug. It's like he's trying to build a time machine with lies, hoping to rewind the DUI. Spoiler alert, courts don't accept beer logic as legal defense. Let's keep digging because this Taco Bell saga is spiraling fast.
My memory, ma'am, I have no reason to try to trick you, Miss West. I'm telling you the God's honest truth. Like I said, I had alcohol in my system from the night before.
Well, how much did you drink the night before?
Well, I was intoxicated.
So what you're telling me then, if
And
you
how-
had, hang on, so if you had that much alcohol in your system from the night before, that you were still probably hold on. Watch where your story's going.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're telling me you had so much in your system the night before that it was going to still be in your blood and you had just driven to the Taco Bell.
No, I drove into the Taco Bell that later on that evening,
You're not right.
but it wasn't a full 24 hours.
Right.
Right.
So if you're saying that 0.188 is because of the night before, then all likelihood you were drunk when you were driving from the night before, if I'm to believe your story that you only had most of one drink while you were there. See how that doesn't
The judge doesn't even flinch, just connects the dots like a crime-solving ninja. If that's true, she says, then you were drunk before Taco Bell. Boom. And now our guy's just sitting there, completely trapped in his own bedtime story, looking like he just realized the punchline is him. It's that moment of silence when your whole alibi turns into a confession, and you can almost hear the sound of regret echoing through the courtroom. The judge didn't even have to press. His own timeline just folded in on itself. This right here is why you don't freestyle your defense, folks. Because once the logic starts falling apart, there's no drive-through exit from that kind of mess. Let's keep it rolling. This courtroom comedy isn't over yet.
Mr. Coleman, you have a witness?
Yes, Your Honor. State Cause Troy Robinson.
Mr. Robertson, if you please raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Your Honor, the court's familiar with Mr. Robinson and his background. But
Sure.
For the purpose of the record, Mr. Robinson, you're certified as a fingerprint expert. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
How long have you been certified as a fingerprint expert?
Almost 6 years now,
Testified in court before?
multiple times.
You've had an opportunity to review some documentation in this case.
I have.
Did they include prior judgments for the defendant, Mark Anthony Segura?
They work.
I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit Number 1. Is State's Exhibit Number 1 a fair and accurate summary of the 20 previous felony judgments that you reviewed in this case?
It is.
Using your,
For 20 felony judgments.
I apologize, 20 previous prior criminal judgments, including a number of felonies.
Correct.
Okay, in other words, both misdemeanors and felonies.
Yes, sir.
And did you use the defendant's admission to at least one of the DWIs that he pled true to that had a print on its judgment to compare to the judgments here that had prints on it.
That is correct.
And what was your
Then boom! Like a plot twist in a courtroom drama, here comes the expert witness with the fingerprint receipts. Not one, not two, but 20 priors. At this point, his criminal record doesn't just need a file, it needs its own filing cabinet with a receptionist and a break room. You could probably bind it and sell it as a trilogy. The whole courtroom goes quiet for a second, like even the walls need a moment to process that many charges. You can see the judge's eyebrows trying not to jump off her face. This man really walked in hoping to charm his way out, but instead, the prosecution just dropped the entire rap sheet like a mic. Let's keep going. This case is stacking up, faster than a Taco Bell order at 2 a.m.
Ma'am, I'm asking for mercy, for forgiveness to begin with. I'm not a bad person. Ms. West, I completed high school. I had 1 semester in college for auto mechanics. I've served for the community. I worked all my life. The kids was out playing.
Where have you worked?
I worked. I worked for Little and Willis when I was a kid at the age 15. After that, I graduated and I continued working. I've been working in the plant for over 30 to 40 years. All my life, I've been working.
How many years?
Business scalpers and all different types of jobs all over.
Mark,
Yeah.
how many years did you serve in prison? How many years have you been in prison?
First of all,
How many years have you been in prison?
all together with everything, I done did over 10 years.
Okay, and how old are you?
I'm 58 years.
This part honestly hits different. For a moment, all the courtroom drama fades, and you're just left with a man laying his pain bare. He says he worked his whole life, lost his brother, lost his parents. You can feel it. That quiet kind of grief that doesn't yell. It just lingers. And, yeah, you want to feel for him. But at the same time, you can't ignore the trail of bad choices that got him here. Every missed court date, every DWI, every just one more excuse. It's that brutal collision of sympathy and consequence. You see a man who's hurting, but you also see the wreckage he's left behind. No one wins in this moment. It's just heavy. Let's keep watching.
When you were arrested, were you working?
I'm receiving disability. I can't work no more.
Okay, what is your disability?
I got rheumatoid arthritis. I got prostate problems. My heart is bad.
Are you on disability?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and when were you placed on disability?
Like 2020.
Okay, so 2020, you're on disability. So while you're on disability, why are you drinking beer 40 ounces at a time? Or drinking the night before to where you're tired?
There's no excuse.
Explain to it.
I just lost my brother. I lost my mother and my father. And the alcohol just don't bring it. They're not gonna bring it.
Okay, so you have a problem.
I have a problem.
One of the things we talked about was, when you came to me was that you never went into a program.
Never.
You never went into a drug program?
I never had a chance on probation and that.
Well, you got.
Well, what about when you weren't on probation? What about the times when you weren't in prison and you knew you had a problem and you wanted to stay out of prison?
Yeah, well, I got a device since I've been home.
What do you?
No, what? That's since you've
Oh, yes,
been in.
ma'am. I tried.
I'm talking about the rest of your life. I'm talking about the times that you got
Yes, ma'am.
arrested 43 times for public intoxication.
And even now, he's looking at the judge saying, I never had a chance for treatment. But come on, man. Let's be real. You had decades. This isn't some surprise ending. It's not a dramatic twist. It's a rerun of the same story you've been telling your whole life. How many second chances do you expect the world to give before it says, that's enough? The system isn't perfect, sure, but at some point, personal responsibility has to kick in. You can't keep rewriting history just because the outcome sucks. This isn't redemption, it's repetition. Let's see what the judge does with this.
39 traffic offenses, 17 times you didn't appear in court, 5 disorderly conducts, 4 opening containers. I mean, these are the ones that aren't even listed on the pages.
Yes, ma'am.
Pages.
Ms. West, they have 5 different other marks again.
Okay, so you're gonna
In the
stick with
system.
that this isn't you.
No, ma'am, I'm not making no excuses. I have very much high respect for the officer of the law.
Okay. Do you
Okay.
really? You do?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
So that's the 19 misdemeanors, the assaults, the terroristic threats, the
I-
trespassings, the 1, 2, 3, 4. This is your 5th DWI, your 2nd felony DWI. By what you need to understand
Yes, ma'am.
is that by not really taking personal responsibility and making us go through this circus that we've been going through now for an hour and a half of trying to prove that you actually have been convicted of felony offenses
Yes, ma'am.
when you know darn well that you have,
Yes, ma'am.
makes no sense to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Coleman?
Cool. And here comes the sentence. No mercy, no sugarcoating. The judge basically looks him dead in the eye and says, "Your whole story makes 0 sense." She's done playing along. All those emotional detours, the wild Taco Bell timeline, the "I only drank after" excuse, it all crumbles under one simple fact. His blood alcohol level told the real story. Science doesn't care about sob stories. The timeline doesn't match. The BAC doesn't lie. And honestly, this was inevitable. No matter how he tried to spin it, the truth caught up. And now, so did the consequence.
Starting with the beginning of this hearing, when we were going through the just the nature of the offense,
Yes.
starting there, we went down the wrong path. It makes no sense. I don't believe it. It doesn't add up to what your blood alcohol level was. How you say what happened that night doesn't line up. It just doesn't. I get that 40 ounces is a big beer, but if you've been an alcoholic for as long as you're talking about, that's not going to get your blood alcohol to what it was that night, which was almost a 0.2. It was a 0.188. And I have already found those 3 prior offenses true. Those are all felony offenses from different conviction dates. I'm going to find that you previously entered your plea of guilty freely and voluntarily, find sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and at this time find you guilty of driving while intoxicated, 3rd or more. I'm going to sentence you to a term of 25 years in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Corrections. In my opinion, you're lucky that Mr. Coleman asked for 25, because I'm not sure that you really even deserve that with your criminal history. And
Cool. She gives him 25 years and then hits him with, "You're lucky." Let that sink in. Imagine standing there, realizing that a quarter century behind bars is considered merciful compared to what could have been. That's not just a sentence. That's a mirror. A brutal reflection of every wrong turn, every second chance blown, every excuse made. This isn't just rock bottom. It's a silent echo of everything he could have done differently. When 25 years feels like a break, you know you've reached the end of the road.
you have refused to accept real responsibility. You will receive credit on this sentence for any time that you've been in custody that the law gives you the right to receive on this case. I'm going to hand you the trial court certification. This was not an agreement. You do have some rights to appeal. You can talk to Mr. Burbank about that. I have also handed you a written admonishment regarding your ineligibility to possess a firearm or ammunition. Possession of a firearm or ammunition could lead to charges against you. Firearm is a legal term, and you should read the written admonishment I provide you to see what devices qualify as a firearm. If you have questions about the laws that make you ineligible to possess a firearm or ammunition, or about how long that lasts, you can also talk to Mr. Burbank.
Yes, ma'am.
Good luck to you, sir. You can go back with the bailiff.
Yes.